There's so much mimicry. Like there's
Yes.
mimicking. You find something that works for somebody else, and then your brain says, it worked for them. I'm going to do that. I'm going to follow their path. But what you really want to do is have an authentic brand, which means you dig inside of yourself and who you are and what makes you unique to the world and kind of play off of that because you are ultimately your own brand.
Welcome to Glow Up Boss, the business school for female entrepreneurs in the beauty industry. And I can't even tell you, I've been like literally stalking you. I've been stalking this woman. Her name is Jennifer Perkins, and she has an eye for branding like I've never seen before. She's been a photographer for the last 15 years, and she's worked with some of the most iconic brands out there. I brought her on the show today because I wanted to talk to all of my female entrepreneurs that are launching their own brands to talk about branding. So many of you out there have started your own cosmetics, skincare, sunless tanning brands, and you don't have a very big budget. You've got a very small budget, but you got to get your branding right. So I brought on this incredible expert, Jennifer Perkins, to talk to us about branding, okay? About how to brand like a pro on a shoestring budget. So this is for you guys on a shoestring budget, okay? What do you need to do to have branding of like one of the large companies that spend a fortune on their branding before product launch? What are your recommendations?
Oh my gosh. First of all, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I'm honored to be here. I would say that investing money in the right places, the smartest places first, you'll get more bang for your buck. So maybe spending a little bit, and this is I'm telling you, keep investing in your creative team as your company grows. Keep adding more people, more eyes, more storytelling. It's only going to get better the more you invest in your creative vision, the more communication you're going to have with your customers, your clients. But if you're just starting out and you just kind of have a shoestring budget, find people that are good at being on camera and that want to be on camera and use those people as your models. Negotiate a trade even. I'll give you my product, and if you love it, I would love to use you as my model. Or even like in the makeup artistry, the wardrobe styling, because all of these pieces create something bigger, right? It's every little step to make a giant impact. But get as many people on board as you can using the network that you have already, and then continuing to pour and grow into that.
Yeah, definitely. And, being a brand owner myself, when I started out, I did exactly that. And to a certain degree, I have my network of makeup artists and hairstylists and, models that I work with, certainly from the pageant days. But I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs that are just starting out, and their first thing is branding. So, we hire the photographer, we bring in the photographer after and the model after and all that. But like creating the actual branding, the look and the feel of the brand. I know you can spend like $30,000, $40,000 on a branding agency to come in and help you. But if you don't have the budget to do that, what do you do?
I think that it would be smart to get all your ducks in a row before you hire anyone. So, what is your vision? How do you want people to feel when they look at whatever they're about to look at? What is my company about? If I'm a natural skincare company, my target market is probably a natural skincare girly, a clean girl, right? She's going to be getting smoothies. She's going to be at Pilates. She's going to be taking care of her body. She's going to be working out. She's going to be eating healthy. All of these things, you're going to figure out who your person is that you feel like is going to be a great match for your company, and you tailor everything to that girl. You hand it to her on a silver platter. And when she gets it, she's going to feel something. She's going to feel compelled to purchase your product or compelled to stand behind your brand.
Mm-hmm.
Later, the photography and everything comes into play. You're hiring a storyteller. You're not hiring somebody that can just push a button on a camera, right? They're using light to their advantage. They're using wardrobe to their advantage. They're using the location, everything is thought through very thoroughly before you enter into the day of the shoot, right? So again, clean girl aesthetic. We are doing bright and poppy. Maybe this is a specific brand. Bright and poppy lighting, brightly colored clothes to convey that like bright, and maybe even it's like age range of like 23 to 35. So, she's got a great body. She's fit. She's making her smoothie on camera. She's picking her kids up after, or putting them to bed, or to show kind of her lifestyle, because you want to bridge the gap between you and who your client is, right? And the more that you speak their language and the more that they trust you, the more you can pull them in, right? The more that they believe you, the more that they stand behind your product, and the more they're more willing to spend money on it.
Yeah, that's really great advice. So what would you recommend for new brands starting up? Say, for example, they're not 100% sure who their target market is exactly. They know that they want, let's just say, a line of sunless tanning products. And
Right.
the market is so crowded out there for sunless tanners now. When I started in the industry, there were very few brands.
Absolutely.
But now the market is so incredibly crowded. How do new brands make themselves stand out?
That's an amazing question. I'm so glad that you asked, because there's so much mimicry. Like there's
Yes.
mimicking. You find something that works for somebody else, and then your brain says, it worked for them. I'm going to do that. I'm going to follow their path. But what you really want to do is have an authentic brand, which means you dig inside of yourself and who you are and what makes you unique to the world, and kind of play off of that, because you are ultimately your own brand, right? And so if you're going to have, say, a skincare line, you got to show yourself having good skin, taking care of your body, putting in the effort, putting in the reps, I say. And even if you're not necessarily showing it, you're living that life. Getting so in touch with yourself that you have no choice but to bleed into your brand, because ultimately the owner and the brand founder, right, is going to be the thing that separates your brand from other people. I have a natural skincare line. I'm a photographer, and my husband is, he used to fly the president. He's ex-Marine. So we have a very unique story. It's not very likely that you will find that again, right? And so instead of going in the steps of somebody else who has succeeded in this genre before, we want to set our own path. And we want to show as much of our unique life as possible, so that people get to know us, people trust us, people see that we're passionate about what we're doing, and people see that, like, oh, okay, the reason why they have like these images that are so interesting and editorial for a startup brand is because one of them is a photographer and she does this for a living.
Okay.
Right. And then the other, my husband is like this mad scientist formulator. Like he's the one in the shop doing all the ingredients and all the mixing. He can tell you back to front, front to back, upside down and all around. And so he's usually the one that's speaking to the questions that people might have, or concerns, or any of those types of things about ingredients, or maybe even coming to us to elevate their own lifestyle in the arena that we have created. So like supplements, lifestyle, like they're always asking him, what do you do to work out? What's your supplement stack? What's this? What's that? And so it's not just about the skincare. The skincare kind of is, you're not selling a product, right? You're selling a story, and you're storytelling. And so I feel like when you're starting up, make sure you try to find somebody, when you're hiring a photographer especially, to tell your story and not chase a trend, right? And that they listen to your vision for your brand and your personality, your unique essence, right? And they're capturing that the way that it should be. That's their expertise, right?
And you know what? When you speak like an agency, like an ad agency that helps create the brand. You don't speak like a regular photographer. I've worked with, I can't even tell you how many photographers over the last 20 years. And usually they'll be presented with the brand kit, and, all the brand colors and the fonts and, tell the story based on what's already there. But it seems like the way that you work, you actually figure out the branding and understand. And then once you understand that, you go on and tell the story, which is really unique. Most photographers don't do that.
I think that my unique perspective comes from having started a company myself, because before I wouldn't even say that I had that perspective. Mm-hmm. And I say it all the time. This shows me so much more about what my clients are asking of me, and what I'm looking for to convey in my own personal brand is what they're asking me for to convey for them. Mm-hmm. So it has given me like this full circle kind of experience, other than just showing up and being like, okay, light's good here, let's click away. You know what I mean? It's like a whole story you want people to feel.
Yeah. So we just dived right in.
Yeah.
Okay. I introduced you very briefly. We dived right in, but I want to rewind this a little bit. I want to know, who is Jennifer Perkins? I want to know a little bit about who you are, your passions, what got you to where you are today, and what it is that you're doing exactly, because you're a photographer. You also have your own brand. You're obviously, a branding expert now. So talk to me all things Jennifer Perkins. Glow Up Boss podcast is brought to you today by Infinity Sun. Are you an entrepreneur thinking that you'd like to start a new business that's fun, that doesn't cost a lot of money to start up, that you could do in the evenings and weekends and earn lots and lots of money? Starting a spray tanning business definitely checks off all those boxes. With state-of-the-art plug-and-spray proprietary spray tanning systems that require only one solution, you can literally choose 30 different levels of spray on the spray tanning system itself. Infinity Sun offers sunless tanning solutions that combine high-end skincare together with sunless tanning technology to not only create the most flawless looking tans, but also to improve the condition of the skin. If you want to benefit from Glow Up Boss podcast, you can type in the checkout GUB25. That gets you 10% off your opening order for an Infinity Sun spray tanning system.
It's been a very long road. I started very young. I started shooting when I was 15 years old. I was having trouble staying focused in school, and I just lost interest altogether. I was not the best student. I had good grades, but it wasn't because I was trying. It was just because I gave it the bare minimum, basically, and that was enough to scooch by. But when I was 15 years old, I started in a photography class, and it just grabbed me. It kept my interest. It kept me focused and engaged. I figured out that I could just, how nuanced it was, right? One click of a button or one setting change could change the entire feeling. And I grew up out in the country in Wyoming. I grew up in Wyoming. It was me and my brother for a long time. So there wasn't a lot of communication that happened in my childhood besides just kind of me and him. But all of these things that I was feeling, I was going through as I was growing up, developing into a teenager, as I was developing into a woman, I didn't really speak those things. I didn't have, I don't know, I feel like my daughter now comes to me about everything, right? It's almost like information overload, but I didn't do that. I was very internal, very introspective, and I think that photography allowed me to kind of communicate, or to kind of get whatever was on the inside to the surface. Mm-hmm. And I quickly learned that in just a change of a light, or a change of a scene, or a tweak here or a tweak there can change your entire perspective of something. And the more that I learned to kind of develop that craft, obviously the more attached I became to my own work. I later moved to Denver. I didn't shoot much. I was focusing on just finding a house and finding employment and getting myself up on my feet, because I moved to a big city. It was a big city. And it was there that I was gifted a camera for the first time that was digital. And I just would take pictures of anything that would stand in front of me, any shape. I grew up in very minimal landscape. There's not a lot of trees, not a lot of mountains, not a lot of, it's out in the country, in the prairie. And so I feel like that I bring a lot of that to my work today. I like minimal, there's not a lot of clutter in the background. There's not extra things on the table. And if they are, they're very organized. I mean, I moved to Nashville. I got to shoot a lot of beautiful women in Nashville. It was a completely different change of scenery, lush. There was green. You could shoot in your backyard. Like, it was just everywhere was a shooting masterpiece, right? And so that is where I dipped my toes into contacting people, models, to come and maybe try and create some of this editorial work. Because when I grew up, I had this infatuation with like Vogue and magazine covers and the creativity that went into those types of shots. And so for me, my ultimate goal was to be on those magazines, right? Or to at least emulate the type of feeling that they gave me. I later moved from Nashville to here. And I feel like when I got here, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to dedicate my life and all of my extra time to this, voice I have in the back of my head and this vision that I have for myself and my work. And I didn't want anything to stop me. I wanted to just, and the more I immersed myself in it, the more it just became who I was. And then there was just no separating the two.
Wow.
Yeah.
What
Long
a
story.
history. That's amazing. So now you started your own line of skincare products. So talk a little bit about that.
My husband and I became pregnant, and I was told I was a skincare junkie. I had it. I had everything. I had 7 steps. It was every single night, every single day. Very religious about it. And then when I got pregnant, I was told, hey, by the way, you can't take like 90% of this stuff. You can't put it on your skin because it would be harmful for your baby. And I know that every mother out there can understand when they say, like, if it harms my baby, it's not an option for me. And so it really got me to think about, like, why would I put that on my skin if it's not if it could harm a baby, right? And so we researched and tried to find things that could kind of emulate my skincare. I said, I want this, I want that, I love this about this product, and like this makes me do this. And my husband's like, okay, this vitamin and this ingredient kind of does this. And eventually we came together, and it was tallow. We tried a tallow brand. We felt like we could kind of modernize it and make it a little bit higher performing, and maybe address a little bit more of the concerns I was looking for as a skincare guru or a junkie, instead of maybe going after, like, a lot of the tallow brands are like, they got into it because of big skincare or big pharmacy or big whatever. But we got into it because, first of all, we tried it and loved it, thought it could be better, and wanted to continue to develop it into something that could stand toe-to-toe with the more expensive brands, the more like synthetic brands. And so we just kind of like, we were sending it to our family, we were sending it to our friends, we were getting their feedback, we kept developing and developing. Like, our first prototype, I feel bad for even giving it to my friends at this point, because it was just like not what it is today. And had we not like stumbled so much and learned so many lessons, we wouldn't be where we are today. But all that to say, our company is more so modeled after like the natural, high performing skincare is what we're aiming for. And since I started using it, I have not stopped. It's the only thing I use. And it makes me feel so much better to know that I'm not, because women can put up to 150 chemicals on their skin in the morning, just in the morning. And that's just their skin. And I'm sure you know this. So for me, it was more like, I want to live longer. I want to have a better quality of life. I don't want to be dealing with autoimmune. I don't want to be dealing with infertility. We want to have another baby. I don't want to be dealing with the adverse effects of, some of these synthetic ingredients. While they might give you immediate, amazing results, through time, they're said to actually damage certain elements of your skin. And I just want to keep on living my best life with my best self and be there and live for my children and my husband for obviously as long and as vital and vivacious as I can. And I think that should should be a goal for people.
Totally. There are thousands of homeless dogs in the pounds and shelters and running all over the streets, and not enough people out there to help them. Sprays for Strays is a fundraising organization that raises money through the sunless tanning and beauty industry to help all the rescues all over the United States of America pull the dogs out of the pounds and shelters, get them vetted, get their vaccinations, get them spayed and neutered, help with any sort of behavioral issues, and help to get them into their forever homes. If you'd like to donate to Sprays for Strays, go to spraysforstrays.com. Or if you'd like to become a member, we offer amazing support at Sprays for Strays to help you grow your business and save the lives of dogs at the same time. Go to spraysforstrays.com and become a member or donate. Every little bit of support helps. Thank you to our sponsor, Sprays for Strays, for helping to save the lives of dogs, one spray tan at a time.
I think that some people don't care what they're putting on their face as long as it makes them look 10 years younger. And I understand that. I was there myself. But I feel like there's also something to be said for not having to compromise with that. You'll get the same results, but you don't actually have to sacrifice the layers of your skin that you might be harming or, this elasticity or any of those things.
I love that. Well, I was looking at your brand and your branding is so on point. Did you do the branding all yourself?
I did.
Or did you work with any agencies or?
I have done this from my bootstraps, right? We didn't have a huge budget. So
you're talking to a lot of my listeners here.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I can relate so much to the questions that you're asking. And thankfully, I am a photographer. So we didn't have that expense right away. I was able to kind of give us a little bit of an edge for a startup. But we still do we're still kind of bootstrapping. We have our friends as our models, and thankfully, we are so very blessed. I'm in this industry, so I know people. I know people who are looking to develop their modeling skills, so they're more than happy to be on camera because they're in it for the reps too. It feels like an actual family instead of a team. With the packaging itself, it was just what can we do that is not plastic, because we didn't really want to go the plastic route and have the microplastic seeping in. We needed something that was aesthetic. I was trying to go with glass first right off the bat, and you know how expensive that is. So we just did the best we could with what we had. We're still tweaking. We have made so many orders where, okay, we got to get new tins because we want to put this on the top, or we have to get new tins because we just found out that this little symbol needs to be on there, or, we have to get new boxes because we forgot to put these things on there. We didn't think about it. If we want to sell, yes. If we want to sell with Amazon, it has to have a barcode. If we want to sell with this company, it has to have an expiration date. And so really it's just kind of that balance of what you need to have on your product and how you want that all to look. And thankfully that's my background. So we kind of jumped out of the gate with a cute brand. I love our stuff. I'm so attached to it. It is my heart. Joe is also so attached to it. He will, if we get an email that has any tone of hey, I'm confused on how to use this. It's not working like I thought it would. He takes that to heart because he's the one that made it, right? So he'll see that customer through every little baby step on how to make it work for them.
Yeah.
So there's very much an attachment to the brand that we have created.
That's awesome. So I always end our podcasts with 3 takeaways for our listeners to be able to move their project or their business forward. So this episode really is for people that are just launching their own brands. What are 3 things that you think that they could start doing right away to move things forward from an idea through to having an actual product on the market?
That's a good question. Okay, so the 3 things from ideation to launch.
Yes.
I would say, what's your budget? What is your budget? Get a very realistic number in your brain, and then figure out what is so the most important thing for you to communicate, and put more money to that. Obviously, branding, the production part of it is really expensive. but I would write everything down, how you want your customer to feel, who you think your customer is, where they hang out, what they wear, how old they are, every detail, figuring those things out. And then kind of like, I mean, we kind of did it the opposite way. We had our product, and then I was like, okay, well, who would use this? People like me, because I'm the one that wanted it. I'm the one that needed it, right? And so when I speak to our customers, I feel like I'm speaking to myself. So I feel like one of the most important things that you could possibly do is figure out who you're trying to talk to, because otherwise you're going to waste a ton of money on shooting arrows at something that's not a dartboard, right? You want to send that dart straight to that bullseye. And the closer the closer you are to your brand, and the closer you know yourself, the closer you're going to find out like who you're trying to sell to. Like narrow it down, niche, right? So I feel like that's like number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, I would spend a little bit of extra time and money and effort into your product packaging, because we're living in such a visual world. And when people walk past it, they're like, oh, like, how many times have you gone to Target where you're like, this is like the cutest little vessel. It's like this bright pink. It speaks right to my heart. Like the branding is on point. I'm buying it. I don't care what it's for. You know what I mean? We get so many compliments on our vessels and on our packaging and stuff like that, almost more so than how it feels. And I think that that's so very important. And if you can hire somebody to help you with like graphic design, or maybe make sure that you have like a good logo or like a creative logo, and like standing out in that little like niche that you have created for yourself, using color, using logo, like, maybe you are that bright and fun, interesting, like avant-garde brand. Like, how does your logo look? How does your logo tie back to that? How is this all going to be cohesive? How's your storytelling going to be cohesive? How's your logo? How's your marketing? All of these things are going to like create this little buzz for you. Mm-hmm. It's also important to talk about, or to think about, and to write down, and to like strengthen, and sharpen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then your third action item for our listeners.
Don't be afraid to reach out to people for help. If you ask for help.
Yes.
Right. We were just talking about this. Yes. If you have people, you would be surprised how many people are so willing to help you in the beginning stages of starting something that maybe they believe in it, maybe they don't, but they believe in you. Mm-hmm. We've been blessed with, I call them our family. We have this group of people that I've brought from one world into a different world, and they have followed us on this journey. And I feel like they love the product. They love having time on set with each other. Like, we just have like this little, and your little bubble will get bigger, and they're talking about it to all of their friends. And one piece of advice I would give to like maybe people that are starting up and don't really know how to network themselves is, people always want to talk about themselves, right? If you're at the splash pad with your children and you say, oh, it's nice to meet you. Like, what do you do for a living? And like, they go ahead and give you like, I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I own a bakery, or whatever. And then they're typically going to ask you what you do. So talk about it, and talk about it with a passion. And you will be surprised how many times one conversation turns into a connection, puts you in a room, puts you at a table. Maybe somebody knows a guy that can help you with your boxes. Because our logo girl is actually the one who set us up with the box person. And our box person is the one that set us up with this person, and our makeup artist is the one that knew this person. And so you would be surprised how much your network grows when you just talk about it. Talk about it to everybody. Talk about what you do. Talk about it to the internet. Mm-hmm. You have free marketing when you have social media, and so you should use it to your advantage.
100%. Well, those are some really, really good action items and great takeaways and great advice. So thank you so much for joining me today,
Absolutely.
Jenifer. I'm so excited to watch you in your journey and maybe to work with you as a
Absolutely.
photographer. You're very talented.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.